Thank you very much for joining us on the Job Scam Report podcast. This is Mark Anthony Dyson, your host. You can find the home of the Job Scam Report podcast at markanthonydyson.substack.com. I have with me my regular co-host and friend and partner in crime, Jay Jones, the profiler. How you doing, sir?
All right. How are you? How's everybody here? Nice to see you.
Yes, I hope to see some comments and questions in the chat, and we'll try to check those every once in a while. But we are on a tight schedule because we have another gig to go to right after this, so we're going to try to make the most of this time as we possibly can. So, Jay, as we agreed, we're going to get right down to it because most people want to know how to find a lot of these fake profiles, and you found nearly 32,000 fake jobs, particularly folk jobs. And a lot of our guests, and viewers, mostly the viewers, who are encountering numerous job posts that are just they feel in their guts pretty much wrong. Maybe you can give us an idea lately, since you are on it like almost 24/7. Are you sure you don't have another you that's working for you? Uh,
No.
These people. Yeah,
I
let's talk about
wouldn't
how
know.
pervasive they are and just give us an idea of what it's looking like right now.
I try not to be a negative Norman, but it is a massive issue to find this many jobs that are fake. It's troubling. It's endemic. It's revealing an endemic problem that is targeting job seekers and people who are just trying to get back into their career in a productive way. And what happens is people have these careers that they've dedicated 10, 20 plus years to. And if you're suddenly laid off, then you're trying to get right back to what you've been doing because you've dedicated your time and your will to it. But when you find that it's difficult to land a role in that space, then what happens is as the funds begin to run out and things get tougher, you try to look for a bridge job. And so a bridge job is typically a data entry job, a customer service job, something that is remote, working from home, because you might not have the ability to travel because you're in a certain region. And what scammers do is they list bridge jobs that are common so that they can get a bunch of attention and a bunch of traffic to them. And in that process, steal your resume and then scam you in multiple ways after they get your resume. And so that's why this is such a pervasive issue, is because they know that people are trying to be productive and get income as soon as possible. And they're in the middle intervening and ruining that process.
Yeah. Now, the first sign you notice that people have found the fake jobs, what's the most popular sign that you see? There's a lot of them, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on the podcast. But when they come to you, what's one of the first things that tips them off that they should, and one thing that they probably miss?
Boilerplate descriptions. And then as a job seeker, if you're in this space of trying to be fast and be first, then you'll override a lot of things that you should readily recognize if you take a step back, like you say, pause and verify, because you're trying to be first because you know that there are all these other people looking for the same thing, trying to continue to find supplemental income in the meantime. And so you don't ask questions that will potentially rub the recruiter in the wrong way because you're assuming already that they're real. But you have to look at it like this person may not be real. And I have to make the
Mhm.
executive decisions to say, who are you? What company are you with? How long have you been there? What's your social media presence? Like, why are you like basically a ghost before I see you? Like, why are you so
Right.
present now, but you exist nowhere else? Look into the company because there are companies, they'll spoof web pages of real companies. Like it gets deep, but the high level view is if the company doesn't exist or if the domain was recently registered, then that's a red flag. If the job description is deliberately vague, something that is a catch-all, then that's one that is vague. The other thing is affiliate marketing abuse. That's a long side quest, but basically you'll see a job that is supposed to be real, but the link leads to a bunch of survey sites. And so what happens is scammers will enter into agreements with different companies to do affiliate marketing. And the real way it works is a company wants traffic to their site. So they'll enter into an agreement with a real person like a celebrity or someone who has a large following to drive said traffic. But what they'll do is
Mhm.
they'll artificially drive traffic by listing all of these jobs, which are in the millions that are fake, and then all of this traffic goes to the site, the survey site, and then they get
Mhm.
paid, the site gets paid. No one actually finds work in that process.
Now, you've said yourself, there's a couple of things that you've said throughout almost 18 months we've been working together. I know that there are also career services professionals. And I've noticed more of a bump of them lately than normal. Have you been noticing the same thing?
Yeah, it's the hot topic because so many people are looking for work. And
Right.
like in the initial stages of my work, it focused on fake resume writers because what they would do is target the real ones. They'd steal about sections and different things from their profiles and content and then make whole business pages on Fiverr and whatnot, and then undercut on pricing in order to sell you a service that looks real but is entirely fake. So career coaching, you also have to look at the career coach, like once again, make the executive decision and ask yourself these questions is, are you a career coach if you're 25 years old, if you're 30 years old, like what exactly can you help me with if you're the same age as I am? Like you need decades
Right.
of experience pretty much to like actually guide people. And these job titles and accolades, you have to look past them and see the actual person and see what it is that can actually help you with, if anything.
And you and I talked about this before we got on, and actually, this has been a touch and go topic with you and I. But I think that people with career coaches have to have a little bit more interest in their profiles other than LinkedIn and also their website because they probably have done that throughout other services. And I talked to one I've known for a lot of years. She said that she was scared to look to see if there were others. I'm going, time is ticking while that person might be really leveraging your presence that you built throughout the years to scam other people.
Yeah, it's a massive undertaking because most recently in the line I had with Jessica, Aaron, and
Mhm.
then Melissa, they're all resume writers slash career coaches. And you know that you don't have the time to look into this stuff because you're running real businesses. And
Yeah.
so that's what the profiler protection service is. I help real businesses and real solopreneurs, entrepreneurs protect their brands while they're online. But if you look at the scale of what happens is briefly, I'll talk about this. Like Aaron Kennedy and Melissa Cohen, they both had fake websites that were entirely set up to funnel people from LinkedIn to them and pretend to actually be them to either write resumes or help them with their careers and whatnot. And it was entirely fraudulent. There was no pictures of Aaron on the website. And then for Melissa, there was a picture of another woman who was named Burke Murphy, who has nothing to do with Melissa at all. She's just a random woman whose picture they stole. And so I got the sites taken down, but that's how massive this issue is because with the pressure that I bring for the fake profiles and fake jobs, they're pivoting along with the work that you do as well. They're pivoting more, trying to continue these bad operations and make them look more legitimate at the same time. And so I just got a message the other day from another career coach. She said that there are active attempts to try to infiltrate the back end of the website that she
Mhm.
had so they can take it over and make it look like it's the same thing with the hack profiles. They're just trying to get behind things that are already established so they can then do fraud in that name or those names.
Does I can vouch for that myself because having a website that's been around for years, I could tell you that there you could see a report on the back end, especially via WordPress. They will show you how many attempts they were that you didn't try, and that's probably has gone up a little bit lately. Though I've seen it go up and down throughout the years. There have been times that have been tried 3, 4, 500 times on the back end. That's their first way of doing it. But having said that, the best way for hackers to do it, or should I say scammers to do it, is to hack a human, which basically they're really good at, especially when they can come close to the real thing as possible. In the case of Aaron and Jessica, who I've known many years, they both been on another podcast that I host many moons ago, where they say that they've been hacked. I know for real who the real Aaron is and real Jessica is. However, somebody who's not really familiar with those names or might be half familiar with those names are not really connected the way that I've been connected to both of them throughout the years, they're going to sometimes it's hook, line, and sinker. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just use the name. And then if they get so brazen, the scammers, they'll actually directly link to the profile. And then if you
Right.
see the profile and you think that the person that you're talking to is that same person, then if you don't go any further than just taking the scammer's word, then, you know, you're pretty much cooked at that point.
Let's talk a little bit about the open work banner, which we've talked about ad nauseum, but I think we do need to cover it as part of the discussion. Is link. the fake LinkedIn profiles. What's interesting, a lot of the scammers also have a banner. A lot of them also have, and it's not the hiring banner, but they talk about in from the open LinkedIn, the open to work LinkedIn banner. And you and I have talked about recently that there is mixed in with the other issue that LinkedIn recently announced, that I think it was last Friday, that they're now going to scrutinize fake accounts. And the reason why they both relate, because with the recruiter accounts, which they're scrutinized the recruiting, the executives, the talent acquisition, anybody that's associated with hiring, so that they can give the actual user, an actual job seeker, a peace of mind, so to speak, so that they can know that they're interacting with a person. The punchline seems to be they're not going to deal with any of them from the past accounts. So somebody could have a fake, it could be open to work. They can have a fake account and still lure those who had the open to work banner. You know what I mean? So as I'm saying, on one hand, it's good that they're trying to add a verification layer for those who are hiring officials. At the same time, they're not really dealing with the ones that already exist and been using other accounts and hijacked other accounts. And there are thousands of them, perhaps hundreds of thousands, maybe more. What's your thought on that?
I saw it, and like I said, I'm not a negative guy, but it's just I've seen too much. Yeah, that it's a step, but it's half step.
And I agree. And it's the concern is that the recruiters have the access to the LinkedIn recruiting tool, the one that a scammer can pay for, but who knows that whether all scammers have that or not, but they can pay for it and get it, especially when they can present fake credentials in order for them to, of course, make them seem more credible, as you talked about before. And they're able to see the people who have the open to work banner hidden, as opposed to if you don't have that access, they have to look at the physical banner. So I know I've made an attempt to recommend people use the private banner, but they will still need to have the right skills and look for the right things and still vet recruiters the same way. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you use the banner that's public facing, it definitely increases your reach. But I always tell people understand what comes with that is that you
Yeah.
will definitely be targeted by scammers. Like as soon as you post the banner, within 5 to 10 minutes, you'll be swarmed by people who are astonished that you're in the job market. It's like you're a rare gem. You're this unicorn that they can't believe is available, and they're trying to quickly get you off the market because you don't
Mhm.
deserve to be there. It's a half truth mixed within the lie. Yes, you don't deserve to be in this job market because, it's a horrible time, you were layoffs and all the things that precipitate that. It doesn't address the issue of, because I've talked about this as well, is that the hijacked accounts I talked about those extensively. But then there's this other arm where people are selling and leasing their accounts. And so it's like somebody sells their account because they're not using it. Well, then if that account is a recruiter and they already have the approved titles that are no need to change them, and then these scammers lock the real person out that leased the account. Then I said this
Mhm.
the other day. It's like, what are you going to do? A scammer is dishonest. They're not going to keep their word. The moment you give them your credentials, they'll lock you out. And then what are you going to say? I call it a street pharmacist going to the police and saying, hey, they robbed me of my illicit stuff. Help me.
Yeah.
And lock you up and laugh at you. And so
Yes.
if you leased your account, who are you going to tell? You can't
Yes.
tell LinkedIn because then you violated the terms.
Yeah. And just to give people a little bit of history, there has been court cases where a scammer has gone to taken somebody to court because they were exposed and positioned themselves as being legitimate, but they were nowhere found to be legitimate. And in fact, they even targeted certain career coaches, and they were able to expose them and to be able to get their websites taken down about 10 years ago. But all that to say that they're playing a real game. They're not playing. A lot of times, these scammers are what they do is they'll contact you, they'll lure somebody in. There's a discovered or as soon as it looked like somebody's tipped off that they're fake, they disappear and then reappear as another account. And that's what's so dangerous about the ones that are already there. So it can go quite a bit of ways down the road.
Yeah, because they'll troll me because they have this, the scammers, they'll troll me. They'll make another account with the same exact picture, different name, and they'll like my stuff. They'll repost it and just say, hey, we're still here. There's nothing you can do about it, but that doesn't deter me. And then the
Right.
other thing is, what was I going to say? Go ahead. Say the last thing and it'll trigger. I just forgot my train of thought real quick.
Actually, I was going to just go on and go on because I did have there's a wide spread of things that we cover, and then we can dig into details on another show. But I think ultimately is that people who still need to do their due diligence, no matter what LinkedIn puts out, that they need to vet each person and make sure that they are dealing with an actual person and kind of use the tools that are kind of outside of LinkedIn to make sure that that they're really doing business the right way.
And actually, it just came back to me. I was talking because you said
Okay.
about the scammer running a real game, and it reminded me of the story I heard about Sylvester Stallone. And I believe he had like this electric feature on his vehicle, like it was a theft deterrent. And somebody tried to break into his vehicle and they got electrocuted. And so they sued and they won because they felt like that the threat deterrent was too forceful. And so he had to pay somebody who was trying to rob him.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's right. I had forgotten all about that. Yet no telling how all of this is going to end, but I do want to get to the crux because we are working on a little bit of time. Should people report, ignore, or both?
Both. You should always report it so there's a record of it. But definitely don't engage because even if it's the same situation where if you get a spam email and you hit unsubscribe, the unsubscribe link could have malware in it. And if it doesn't have malware, by you choosing to click unsubscribe, you're confirming that this email is active.
Yeah.
Well, they'll just circle back in another way to try to get you. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. By you clicking the link, you definitely are confirming because they can see in the back end the IP address that it comes from, as well as other potentially identifying things that can tell that it was you. And they're always looking for that verification because people change jobs, locations, computers, computer devices, phones, even your phone has IP address. And I think people know that intellectually, but it can also show up in identifying who you are as well. And finally, and we'll try to close out on this, you see this as long-term vigilance like I do?
Yeah, scammers will never stop. They'll always pivot. They'll always try a different method to not only infiltrate, get your money. So this is an ongoing thing with the increasing use of AI. You talked about this with fake job applicants, and that's on the rise. We saw the case from earlier in February with the laptop farm woman who was working at different companies, but sending the laptops over to North Korea and things like that. It is an active problem and is only increasing. And so what people need to do is be more educated. And like I say, one thing that happens to job seekers is that they feel devalued and they think that this recruiter, they don't want to offend them. So they want to appear in the best light possible. And so they'll be acquiescent. They'll just be amiable and follow everything that they're told because the hope is this opportunity is real. But you need to basically be like, you have power, you're still valuable, and you need to vet this like, it's somebody, like I said before, you're a lottery winner. They're trying to get your money. What is it you actually want from me? And why should I listen? Why should I take you seriously?
Yeah, and I completely agree. People have to take charge of their job search on the front end. If they do all the right things on the front end, they'll be less enticed by the offers that are too good to be true because their research, their work, their focus is totally grounded in reality as opposed to scammers. They're thinking widespread. They're not just saying, I'm just going to scam Jay Jones. I'm going to scam all those who might like, who are more like Jay Jones because they fit this particular profile. So that way they look at that large scale and they're not going to look at it they don't have emotion. They don't care about how you feel. So therefore you got to kind of shed the emotions that you feel about them as well. Even though I understand that there are real people behind it, they could be in a bad place, but ultimately that could cost you some problems for the long term instead of short term. Anything else you want to add before we jet out of here?
Yeah, that was a brief sidebar you just mentioned about they might be in a bad situation because there are people that have taken fake jobs and they relocated and then they only find when
Yes.
they get to where they are, they get kidnapped
Yes.
and they become part of a forced scamming farm and different
Yep.
operations like that. So this is
Yep.
why I attack the fake jobs in such a way is because not only can people take their lives if they get scammed, they can also be kidnapped and forced to scam. That's why I'm so merciless when it comes to this because there are too many wide ranging real world impacts that this happens. And I'm at the Braveheart level when it comes to like that. There's no excuse. Do what you need to do, but I'm not scamming anybody. That's where I'm at with it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Just goes dreaming freedom randomly in a large, a big place with big people who they may not know exactly what you're talking about, mentioning Braveheart. But in the meantime, too, yeah, and just to add a small little tag on it, in foreign news. It's in the news in a lot of the third world countries, especially like in India and other countries like Korea and Africa, where they've actually authorities have found past job scams, people who are working with no food and are away from their families. They're in this group being like modern day tech slaves, so to speak. So that is something real. That's not something you're making up, Jay. So I just want people to know there's news about that every day that's happening. So in the meantime, people can find you at where, Jay? And I got it here on the bottom third, but just so people know.
Yeah, jonesdoucopy.com. By trade, I'm a copywriter, but I do the scam investigation work as well. That's where you can find me if you need help with writing work for your business and things of that nature. And if you're a brand, career coach, resume writer, someone who is concerned about their brand reputation online, I help people help you be protected. If there are websites that are impersonating you, I help get them taken down. I've done that for 2 clients already. And then I'm working on a profiler website where I'm compiling all the information from all the casework that I've done and will continue to do it somewhere where people can easily access stuff and provide additional resources from there as well. But you can also find me on LinkedIn as LinkedIn/n/Jones Do You Copy.
Thank you, Jay Jones, the profiler. Be sure you obtain the services that'll apply to you, especially if you're in the career services realm. In the meantime, check out the job scam report on Substack. And you can find it at markanthonydyson.substack.com. In the meantime, clarify, verify, but just don't apply. Stay scam free, y'all. We'll see you next time.